protecting Main Street from Wall Street. It's time for Money Unleashed with Eric Johnson and Kyle Allyn.
You have to have a plan where you know if the market's going to go up, what happens next. And you also have to have a plan where if it doesn't go the way you think, you know what you're going to do.
It's time to put you back in control of your money.
I'm not trying to predict the weather, which is kind of what we're talking about, right? It's predicting the stock market. I'm trying to build a better boat.
This is Money Unleashed with Eric Johnson and Kyle Allyn.
Welcome to the Money Unleashed podcast, powered by Hoffman Financial Group. I'm Eric Johnson. Alongside me is Kyle Allyn. We're the vice presidents of Hoffman Financial Group. And each and every week, we're bringing you new episodes. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts. Just search for Money Unleashed. Let's jump into the show. There's a couple things going on. I don't know if everyone out there has been paying attention, but, we've got some tariff talk. That's, the new buzzword for the past couple of weeks. And just recently, Donald Trump, he had allowed the Mexican and Canadian tariffs to go through. Right? And there's a lot of speculation on both sides, whether it's going to work, not work. It's a good move. It's a bad move. And we got a lot of different opinions on this. And, there's a lot of uncertainty going on right now because of these tariffs, because we're not sure if they're going to work or what the result's going to be. So I guess we're kind of in a wait and see type of moment. But we've got some information on this as far as what the White House says, don't we, Kyle?
Yeah, I decided to kind of dig out some different sourcing, as far as what people are saying directly on tariffs, right? So I'm going to read this. It's a little wordy, but we're going to get into it. This is directly on the White House's website. So if you were trying to say, all right, what's going on with tariffs and what is the Trump administration actually articulating? Well, here are their words, right? So their words are, the previous administrations failed to fully leverage America's economic position as a tool to secure our borders against illegal migration and combat the source of fentanyl, preferring to let problems fester. They've got a bullet point system here where they're saying access to the American market is a privilege. The United States has one of the most open economies in the world and the lowest average tariff rates in the world. While trade accounts for 67% of Canada's GDP and 73% of Mexico's GDP and 37% of China's GDP, it accounts for only 24% of the United States GDP. However, in 2023, the U.S. trade deficit in goods was the largest at over $1 trillion. Right? So they're saying tariffs are a powerful, proven source of leverage for protecting the national interest. President Trump is using the tools at hand and taking decisive action that puts Americans safely and safety first. Right? So they're saying, hey, we've got this amazing economy. We've got an open system. We have promoted trade all over the world, and we have benefited. They have benefited. And when it comes to playing fair, the other side's not playing fair, right? So we've talked about this before.
So everybody else is benefiting more from our trade.
That's their argument,
That's
right?
basically what they're saying.
And you've talked about this before. It's almost like they loaded a handgun, sat it on the table, and said, hey, do you see the gun?
Right. Yep.
Right? Now, the tricky part becomes, well, what if the gun goes off? What if they shoot somebody? So then we go to the other side of the argument, and it's quite interesting because a lot of times in politics, and I want to be clear, right? We're not being political here. We're trying to work through something that we don't know the answer. I would argue that's why the fear is so prevalent, because it might be that Donald Trump and the Trump administration are going to knock the ball out of the park, and it might be that traditional Republicans are right in their criticism of this process. But what's unique is we actually have a bit of a divide even within Republicans, right? So on the other side, you've got words from Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan says, trade is an economic alliance that benefits both countries. Our peaceful trading partners are not our enemies. They are our allies. We should be wary of demagogues that are willing to declare a trade war against our friends, right?
Yep.
So, it's interesting. As I thought about all this, we're reading into all these different things, I think I've come to the conclusion that we've got to remember that the world is always changing.
Always changing.
Right? And
always.
So we live in a world where Ronald Reagan may have been right in 1980 and Donald Trump may be right today.
That's also true, right? Because if we're talking about trade deficits, I'm pretty sure, if we're looking at this country as a business and we're losing $1 trillion a year on our trade and everybody else is making money off of it, then yes, I could see, why these tariffs want to be put on these places. But then you also have to figure out, okay, what type of tariffs are we talking about here? Why are we tariffing Mexico and Canada? Well, they punted on the tariffs last time, right? But why did they not? Why did they punt? Because Mexico decided to put 10,000 troops at the border, right? They're trying to get people to do things. And, my idea is, illegal immigration and fentanyl is what I think these initial tariffs are trying to accomplish. But what people don't realize is that April 1st, America goes to the the table and starts renegotiating the tariffs for the trade policy. So it's different tariffs for different things. It's not like one universal tariff. So there's also that aspect as well, too, because April 1st, we're going to the table with all the countries, try to figure out a good deal for our country. So, yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty, and the market doesn't like that uncertainty. I want to remind everybody out there, because we've had a very volatile week, that we were at an all-time high February 19th.
That's right.
Right, a couple of weeks ago.
Let me ask you this, because I say this a lot to clients. They'll come in and they'll say, Kyle, how are you doing? And sadly, I kind of have a canned response. I seem to say it a lot. I say, the sun's up, the market's up, I'm in a good mood. Well, it's been interesting over the last week, right? Because when you say that to someone and they're seeing the market come down 2% or 3% or 4%, what do your clients do, right? Do they understand that the market's still up, or do they look at you like you're crazy and go, no, the market is falling?
Well, I think, for average retail investors, everyone's got a very short memory, right? Like, 2.5 weeks ago, no one was asking me anything because the market was doing what the market does. But I'd like to remind everybody that when you are in a bull market, which, yes, we are in right now, that you're going to have 5% pullbacks. You're going to have 8% pullbacks, sometimes 10% pullbacks before you want to make any specific changes, right? Because the trend is your friend. It's not a linear, straight move up. And and everyone would love that. I would love that too. It'd make our jobs so much easier. It wouldn't be so
dramatic if it just kind of went in the same direction.
Let me tell you, bud, this would be a really easy job if it just went up and to the right and nothing else happened, okay?
And we've talked about that before. You brought up a really good point right there, which is, if people are listening to us and they're listening to the idea of the movements of the market and things like inflation or tariffs, you made a great point there, which is 10% should be where you kind of start registering. So for those of you out there that are watching the market every day, for us, we're not going to go look at the market and register an emotion until the market is down more than 10%.
Right. That's what is technically considered a correction, right? So it's funny because I got I have some people coming in here and they're a little worried. They think I'm RoboCop because they're like, how are you not even freaking out about this? I'm like, well, 4 or 5% is not going to raise my eyebrows much. I see it every single year in a bull market year. So
that's right. 95% of the years have a 10% downward move. So peak to trough at some point, whether it's a day, a week, a month, there's this little 10% drop. So it's almost like, I tell clients often, if you get in the pool and you jumped out of the pool and said, man, I got wet. Well, of course, it's water.
Yes. I like to remind everybody last August, the market went down 8.5%. And 8.5% in August, and I remember getting the same type of reaction. I'm like, just hang out, it's fine.
It's funny that you bring that up. So I'm going to read something. I'm not going to call anybody out, but this was a conversation I was having yesterday via text with a client. So he texted me and he said, Kyle, I don't want to freak out, but I want to tell you how I feel. The tariffs are killing the market and my investment balance as well. What are your thoughts? So the first thing I did, of course, is check his accounts. I said, hey, you're not even down 1%. But what I noticed was there was a text, and you referenced August. In August, he had said, wow, things have changed quick. What are you thinking? I'm hearing recession. And so I had answered him in August, and I said, hey, this is why we protected your account. You'll never seen the pain coming. It's amazing that the pundits are calling for a recession. It's a bit early for the call. So in August, to your point, he sends me a text going, is the world ending? And I say, hey, this is why we protect you. Then this week, he sends basically the same text, and I say, hey, by the way, can you see what I said back in August? And he kind of laughs and goes, yeah, isn't that funny? So one of the things that a financial advisor is able to do is introduce the logic, whether it be something small like the 10% or something big like building you a retirement plan. That way you don't even have to think about it. But our job is to come back in and say, hey, you're fine.
Yeah, and this is what's actually happening, and this is why we set your plan up the way we do. And now let me tell you something. If you are all in stocks and you're at the mercy of the stock market and it goes down, 5%, you're going to feel it more than somebody with a well-balanced portfolio. And that's what we preach on this show is you need to have a well-balanced portfolio. Now, not saying that being in all stocks is a bad thing. I mean, everyone's got their druthers, right? And there's no right or wrong way to grow a portfolio in retirement. But if you're going to live by the sword, everybody, you're going to die by the sword too. And, it's good when you're the one wielding it, but when it's getting pointed at you, it's a different story. So you want to make sure that you have the proper plan put into place. So these market fluctuations, which are natural and then happen in normal bull market scenarios, don't affect you so much on the way down because you have a plan one way or the other, whether it goes up or down. Isn't that right, Kyle?
I mean, as Peter Lynch said in the 80s, to be successful in stocks, is to not be
You're
scared,
scared out of it. You can't
right?
get scared out of the stock market. I think I used that one about 3 or 4 times this last week.
I think this is a perfect moment. So if you're listening to the show right now and you feel any level of fear, right? Somebody told me one time, if an emotional reaction is happening and it's above a 2, so throttle level 1 to 10, the emotional level is above a 2, then the thing you're complaining about, the thing you're worried about is not actually the thing you're worried about, right? So if your fear level right now, this week, during this discussion about tariffs is higher than 2, you need to understand, what is it you're really scared of? Is it losing money? Is it going back to work? Is it not being able to give inheritance? Is it not having the money to protect yourself on long-term care? Whatever the thing is that you're actually scared of, we would love the opportunity to walk you through some details, some logic, and some clarity to help you clear that fear.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the biggest one is, can I retire when I want to? Right? Like if you're getting closer to retirement and you're, a couple years away and you think, you're under the assumption that this is going to be something that's going to derail your plan and you have to work longer. Yeah, that's kind of scary, and I get it. We get it, and that's why we talk to people about putting together these proper portfolios, and that's what we do every single day. And here at Hoffman Financial Group, we want to make sure that our listeners get an opportunity to have this type of financial planning put in place for them. So we actually design plans specifically for you, a la carte, at no cost and no obligation to become a client. And Kyle, tell me a little bit about what this plan includes.
Yeah, so we're going to start out with your life first. Instead of telling you what to do, we want to listen. We want to understand, okay, how many kids do you have? When do you want to retire? What does longevity look like in your family? Do you have medical coverage? Do you have Social Security coming in? Do you have a pension? Do you have real estate? We're going to focus on your life and what makes you unique as a retiree. Then we're going to take it into income. We're going to make sure that you have the income distributions, as you say, and as Chris says, to be an income wizard. Then we're going to go into protection. We're going to make sure we design a portfolio that when the worst comes, whatever it is, you're in a position where you're not freaking out and being scared out of the market. And finally, we're going to make sure that we build in appropriate levels of performance and growth to sustain the portfolio for not only the rest of your life, but for you to leave a great legacy behind to the next generation.
So let's go ahead and get those conversations started, and all starts right here by calling this number, 404-640-5511. That's 404-640-5511. Or go online to unleashyourmoney.com, and we can get you in front of one of our great advisors to help you get this plan put together.
Eric Johnson and Kyle Allyn are investment advisor representatives of Brookstone Wealth Advisors, LLC, a registered investment advisor and affiliate of Brookstone Capital Management, LLC. BWA and Hoffman Financial Group are affiliated under common ownership. Registered investment advisors and investment advisor representatives act as fiduciaries for all of our investment management clients. We have an obligation to act in the best interest of our clients and to make full disclosures of any conflicts of interest. Please refer to our firm brochure, the ADV2A, page 4, for additional information. The Hoffman Financial Group and WSB are not affiliated. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed should not be considered investment advice or recommendation to buy or sell any financial vehicle. This information should not be considered tax or legal advice. Individuals should consult with a professional specializing in the field of tax, legal, accounting, or investments regarding the applicability of this information for their situation. Any client experiences discussed during the show are unique to that client. They are not meant to imply or suggest you will experience the same results. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investments will fluctuate and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. Any comments regarding safe and secure products and guaranteed income streams refer only to fixed insurance products. They do not refer in any way to securities or investment advisory products. Fixed insurance and annuity product guarantees are subject to the claims paying ability of the issuing company and are not offered by Brookstone. Index or fixed annuities are not designed for short-term investments and may be subject to caps, restrictions, fees, and surrender charges as described in the annuity contract. Please refer to our firm brochure, the ADV2A, Item 4, for additional information. Hoffman Financial Group is not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency. Insurance licensed in Georgia, number 163546.